Okay, let's talk Doctor Who. We all know the top tier episodes, the episodes that most of the fandom can agree take the show to new heights and show casual viewers why we're all so obsessed with this little blue box. But today I want to look at those smaller episodes, those stories that may not be ranked the highest but still offer that time travel magic. And very quickly, I'm only focusing on New Who today.
You cars!
I'm going to do a big deep dive of the classic era for another video, so if that interests you, make sure to subscribe. Now with that out of the way, this is top 10 underrated Doctor Who episodes, starting with number 10, Boomtown. I always say that this is Doctor Who's first sitcom episode. Throughout the years, we grew accustomed to expect an episode or two that toned down the trauma and offered 45 minutes of light-hearted whimsy, and these episodes have usually been quite middling. 2005's Boomtown, however, was the first of these, and I'd say it's one of, if not, the best sitcom style of Who we've ever been given. Because Boomtown isn't just 45 minutes of joke book gags. It doesn't rely on the Doctor being an idiot or the villains being toned completely down to fit in with a light-hearted vibe. Boomtown offers something different. It slows down the pace, allowing us to spend time with these characters in ways we haven't yet. And although it's very jokey, the episode balances its gags with a lot of heart. The scene with Margaret and the reporter is lovely and suddenly makes the audience sympathise with this big green blob. Also, although it's very joke heavy, and to be honest, most of the jokes do land, the scene in the restaurant is wickedly funny, there's a very grown-up moral dilemma at its core. And the script is razor sharp when it comes to these moments.
I've seen you fight your enemies. Now dine with them.
It doesn't dumb itself down with funny equals silly and stupid. It's more experimental than that. Finally, I also think its placement in the series works wonders for it. Boomtown is placed right between a dark, creepy two-parter and an action-packed series final. So this toned-down pace gives the audience a little time to breathe before their hearts are shattered in 2 weeks' time. Number 9, The Crimson Horror. Okay, calm your angry little fandom heart, just hear me out on this one. Yes, there are many questionable moments that really should have been cut by someone on the creative team. And yes, a lot of the humour doesn't land. I'm not saying that this should make anyone's top 10 episode list. However, this episode is a lot more fun than people give it credit for. A fun little mystery, a great little gremlin, and an amazingly camp performance by Diana Rigg. She really chews the scenery in every scene she's in. Doctor Who has an unfortunate problem of wasting a lot of its guest stars. I don't want to talk about the recent Christmas special, but Diana Rigg is actually given stuff to do. She's great in the role, and Mark Gatiss has so much fun writing for this character. Is it a groundbreaking piece of telly? No, of course not. But is it a fun 45-minute romp? Yes. And also, it's probably one of the best episodes of Series 7, and I know that's probably deeply hurt a lot of you watching this, but I stand by it. I love Mr. Sweet, and I like The Crimson Horror. Number 8, The Witchfinders. The Chibnall era gets a lot of criticism, and rightly so. It's not very good in my opinion. However, there are a few episodes that do deserve more praise than they get. I think The Witchfinders is a fun 50 minutes. It's one of Jodie's best performances, a creepy villain with a good design. Siobhan Finneran is always a highlight in everything she's in.
I am the witch!
And of course it has Alan Cumming, absolutely camping it up to 100. There's a lot to like in this episode, and I think it deserves a little bit more love than it usually gets. Number 7, Time Heist. It has Jonathan Bailey in it, need I say more? No, I needn't, but I will. Time Heist has a lot going for it. I adore the teller and I love the soup brain scene. The supporting characters are a lot of fun and the actual heist is an exciting plot. I love when Doctor Who tries different genres and heist movies suit this world incredibly well. The ending does hold the episode back from being great. We all knew the twist of it being the Doctor was coming, and I don't think the two creatures being in love tugs the heartstrings like the episode thinks it does. However, the build-up is fun. I don't think every week needs to be the high-concept work of art that Heaven Sent is. Sometimes a fun, silly, action-packed 45 minutes is all you need on a Saturday night, and Time Heist delivers on that front for the most part. Number 6, A Town Called Mercy. I've always struggled with Series 7. I'm going to do a deep dive series into each era soon, so I'll get into it more then, but I think tonally the series doesn't gel. I think the 11th Doctor becomes wackier and wackier as his tenure goes on, and I never like it when the Doctor is written as kooky. But A Town Called Mercy is a surprisingly mature story. It tackles themes such as vengeance, forgiveness, war crimes, and justice. It has a strong moral dilemma at its core, and it puts the Doctor in an extremely complicated position. And it's surprisingly grown up, melding the tropes of the Western genre with a more grounded adult drama. The writing really sizzles in these moments too. The tension between the Doctor and Amy hits hard, especially with the Pond's exit on the horizon. And I can't talk about this episode without mentioning Adrian Scarborough's amazing performance. I think he's one of the UK's most underrated actors. He's known a lot for comedy, starring in some of the most successful sitcoms like Gavin and Stacey and Miranda, but his dramatic work is just as good. I loved him in A Very English Scandal. I think he's a scene stealer in that, and he's a scene stealer here too. Jex is a character that easily could have flopped if played by a less captivating actor. Adrian Scarborough just excels in this role, and the scenes where he's sparring with Matt Smith's Doctor make for some great television. Matt Smith is always remembered for his more whimsical portrayal of the Doctor, Doctor, but I always adored it when we got to see his darker side. This darkness was more evident in his earlier series, so it's great to see it come to the surface once again in his final season. Basically, I like this episode. I think Toby Whithouse has always been good at writing fun Doctor Who, and this isn't the only episode of his on the list. Before we continue, if you're liking this video, please give it a like because that just makes sense. And if you want more videos, please do subscribe. It would really help me out and allow me to make more videos, which would just be nice. Number 5, Deep Breath. Being honest, I nearly didn't put this one on the list, mainly because I don't think the first half of this episode is very good. Deep Breath is the first episode of Series 8 and it's got an extra long runtime which I just don't think it earns. The first half feels very floaty, as if it's wasting time before getting to the meat of the story. I mean, this scene alone has no place being in this episode, and I think it was some kind of Blue Peter competition, but no. Story comes before children's feelings, cut the scene, teach them a lesson. But then, the second half of Deep Breath is top-tier Doctor Who. As soon as the Doctor and Clara arrive at the restaurant, the episode just goes up a gear and suddenly the story is not just thrilling, but incredibly fun, tense and dramatic. Capaldi's Doctor shines in these scenes, and I love when Doctor Who adds that little extra bit of horror. The scene where Clara is desperately holding her breath is a brilliant moment. We really feel her pain and fear, and Jenna Coleman just sells it. I think she's one of the best actresses we've ever had on the show, and this moment just proves that. I love the conclusion, did he jump or was he pushed? He was pushed. Look at those eyes, that man is a murderer. The introduction of Missy's really fun, the Matt Smith cameo. I love the way Peter Capaldi delivers this line.
Is that the Doctor?
I know it's simple, but its voice is just magic. I think it's funny that Doctor Who fans usually say that episodes need to be longer to work, but this episode is the complete opposite. The extra runtime actually does a disservice to what was a great story. Number 4, Vampires of Venice. Look, if you've watched my other Doctor Who videos, and you should, they are high works of art, then you know I love monsters. And this episode doesn't just give me vampires, but it gives me fish vampires, and I refuse to believe anyone can be boring enough to dislike that. Is this episode one of the greats? No. Is it trying to be? Absolutely not. But it's fun. It's so fun, and it delivers on everything it sets out to give us. Creepy, good-looking vampires? Check. An amazingly camp double-act villain? Check. Some great sparring between the Doctor and the bad guys? Absolutely. I love the way Rory is introduced as a main character from this episode onwards, and he challenges the Doctor in a way we haven't seen yet in Series 5. It's just a fun romp, and I really appreciate it in a series that's actually quite dark and grown up in its storytelling. The arc is more complicated than what's come before in the previous 4 seasons, so to have a light-hearted adventure at the halfway point really pays off. Number 3, Rise of the Cybermen, The Age of Steel. Series 1's Dalek obviously is a masterpiece at reintroducing an old foe to a new audience, and it rightly gets the praise it deserves. But I don't think this two-parter gets near enough praise for reintroducing the Cybermen to a new generation. Not only does this two-parter do a great job at making them threatening, but it also balances its scares with some wonderful character work. We get to spend time with Mickey in a way we haven't been able to before. I love the direction they take the Tylers. I think it's fun to see the Doctor completely out of his depth. He loves adventure, yet this parallel world is a place he wishes to leave as soon as he can. It balances the action and the character work really well, and its tone of comedy and darkness is great. The scene where they play Lion Sleeps Tonight as they get converted is so darkly funny. Also, we need to credit this story because if these episodes had flopped, the Cybermen may never have become as iconic as they have for New Who. I mean, the Cybermen toys were everywhere, and I love that people connected with these villains like classic fans once did. Number 2, The Girl Who Waited. Series 6 is incredibly story arc heavy. Sometimes it works, other times it falls flat. However, The Girl Who Waited takes a moment to step away from the series arc and instead gives us an amazingly paced character study with some fun little robots as well. I honestly adore this story, and it's amazing to think this was once a backup script. I think Karen Gillan is obviously amazing in it. I love that we get a little bit of darkness from Eleven. However, it's really Rory that steals the show in this story. This may be Arthur Darvill's best performance in Doctor Who. He balances the sadness and the rage and the hope that Rory experiences so perfectly that we as viewers can't help but root for him at every step. The handbots are really fun, a simple yet effective design, and the ending is just lovely. And before we go on to number 1, let's do some honourable mentions, starting with The Unquiet Dead. I don't think I've made a Doctor Who video yet without mentioning this episode. I promise I'm not a Quiet Dead die-hard fan, however, I do like it. I love the villains, the visuals and the vibe. It's gothic, camp, terrifying and a fantastic adventure in the past. New Earth. Maybe not the most intelligent episode of Doctor Who, but god is it fun. The body swap story is a great light-hearted plot, the cat nuns look fantastic even today, and the poor zombies are creepy and heartbreaking in equal measure. Also, we get Cassandra, and every episode will be better with this wannabe Joan Rivers. The Beast Below, a lovely little first adventure for a new companion. We do kinda get hit over the head with the message of the episode by the end.
Just of its kind. Just me now.
Unless there's children crying.
What if you were really old and really kind and alone? If you were that old and that kind, you couldn't just stand there and
watch children cry.
Very old and very kind and the very, very last.
However, for the most part, it's a lovely adventure at the beginning of a new series. Also, the Smilers are horrifying. What little freak designed these? Smith & Jones. I would put Smith & Jones as one of the best Doctor Who series openers. It moves at a stupidly fast pace, introduces us to the Jadoon. I'm surprised they haven't actually returned more than they have. I think they're brilliant. The Thirsty Lady is a great camp villain, and of course we get introduced to Martha Jones, who's immediately likeable from the first few minutes of screen time. And finally, number 1, Gridlock. Series 3 is an odd one. You have incredible highs such as Human Nature in the Family of Blood, and then you get the lows of the Dalek two-parter. You get the first appearance of the Weeping Angels in the now iconic episode Blink, and then a few hours later you get Jesus Doctor, which is then immediately forgotten and replaced with a wonderful heartbreaking scene between the Doctor and the Master. It's an odd season of telly, with some of my favourite and least favourite episodes of the show mixed in. But it also has Gridlock, and Gridlock is amazing. The character work in this is brilliant. It starts with the Doctor taking Martha to New Earth, trying to replace her with Rose and the memories he had with her. You have Martha suddenly realise just how little she knows about this stranger she ran away with. And of course you have the ending, where David Tennant makes utter gibberish sound like Shakespeare. Gridlock has a lot going on, and yet all of its components work. The comedy is funny, the emotional beats hit hard, and there's little nuggets of gold that could have been a whole episode in itself. The mood patches are a great little idea, and I'm surprised no one's ever brought it back to explore more in depth. The threat of the episode, although a little silly, works in that wonderfully unique Doctor Who way, and the singing scene is beautiful. I adore that scene. I think Gridlock does a great job at showing both the good and darkness in humanity, and that's not an easy thing to balance. And yet this episode makes it look easy. The amount of work that went into it is of course a lot, and yet the episode just feels effortless. I think it's an underrated masterpiece that deserves the love and the praise that episodes such as Blink get from the fandom.